What's up, my beautiful, glorious, and dark Dreamfasters? It is Danny Gallows, of course, who'd you think it was, and welcome back to the next video in my episode-by-episode review of Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. So today we have arrived at episode 5, She Knows All the Secrets, and yeah guys, sorry, no podling hat today. It's, well, the truth is, Skekmal stole it! He stole it! And speaking of our good friend Mr. Skekmal, episode 5 wastes no time in being menacing as we open on Rianne hanging upside down from the tree. Skekmal, of course, has strapped him up there. He's sitting there sharpening his blade, getting ready to collect his next prize. And you know, this is the main reason why Skekmal is everybody's favorite Skeksis, and a lot of people's favorite character just in general, is because, you know, just like I was saying in the last video, Skekmal is different. We've never seen the Skeksis like this before. This is a Skeksis that is not only a true warrior, but, you know, he draws his crystal, I don't know, I guess you could put it like that, but he draws his power not from the crystal, but from the opponents that he kills, from the trophies that he collects. And, you know, I just love seeing the Skeksis like this because he's the only warrior Skeksis that we know about. Again, Skeksa's out there somewhere, but he's the only true warrior that we know about, and we've never seen the Skeksis like that before, and it's just so fascinating to watch. But thankfully we have a true hero step in to save the day. An unlikely hero when you think about it, but a hero nonetheless, because here comes the Chamberlain to stop Skekmal from killing Rianne. So it's weird, we actually have Chamberlain to thank in that moment for saving Rianne's life, as he informs him that he needs Rianne alive and he wants to bring him back to the castle with him. So yeah, he shows up, saves the day, true hero as we all know the Chamberlain is. And oh yeah, he also drinks his girlfriend, which when you think about it is a pretty disturbing scene. Now, episode 5 is also our first official introduction to the Darkening, as we get to see it for the first time. I mean, aside from those brief moments in episode 1, of course. But it all starts really officially when the All-Madra goes to inspect a herd of Landstriders who have gone wild and broken out of their containment area. And we see, because there's one left over, there's one wild Landstrider left over, we see the purple in their eyes. Again, we hear about the purple veins, and this is the first time that the All-Madra actually seriously begins to realize that the farmers who were complaining about not being able to pay their tithe may have been onto something, and there may be a real problem here which is worth investigating further. And this starts our kind of the All-Madra's personal journey to the truth, really. And then of course we get a continuation of this sequence right after, as we see Tavra, Kylan, and Nyla have infiltrated now the Crystal Castle. And as Tavra goes on this adventure to continue to follow Skekso and see what's really going on, she witnesses Skekso calling the Darkening up from the cracks of the earth. And interestingly enough, it appears as though he's controlling it, and he can actually summon the Darkening to go into the crystal on the end of his own crystal staff there, of course the Emperor's scepter. And I've always found the scene fascinating because it's not just the control of the Darkening, but being able to imbue his crystal with the Darkening. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard somewhere that actually made, in the lore, it's actually making his crystal, the tiny crystal on the end of his staff, just as powerful as the crystal of truth. Because the Darkening is obviously something that's coming from Thra. It's the evil energy coming from Thra and emanating. It's created by the Skeksis. It's the malicious energy created by the Skeksis. But it's also coming from Thra. So imbuing his own crystal with that dark earth energy is giving him power equal to the crystal of truth. And I think I remember reading that somewhere, which is incredibly fascinating. But you see now that Skekso is very aware of the Darkening, and it's not just that he's aware of it, but he's creating it and he's controlling it. And his lust for power is dominating his mind. He doesn't care that it's killing everything, even themselves. His lust for power has dominated all, and it is also starting to dominate Thra. And then we come to one of my personal favorite scenes in the entire episode, and probably another one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. It's just a little scene, but it's a very, very meaningful scene, because as Deet and Hup are on their way to Harar, they've almost reached Harar at this point, still walking through the woods. You know, Hup kind of has this moment where he breaks down in front of Deet, and says that, he's afraid, and when Deet asks him, you're afraid of going to Harar, you're afraid for yourself, and Hup says, no, I'm afraid for you. I'm afraid that I can't protect you because I'm not a paladin, I just have this spoon and I just have these dreams and aspirations, but I could never be a paladin. And Deet, kind of being this loving child of nature that she is, kind of, takes the time to assure him that he is a paladin already, that he is already a powerful warrior. You saved me from all of these things already. And it's such a heartwarming, touching scene because Deet is just like the sweetest character in the world, and she's very humble, and so is Hup. And we get to see this great character development between them as, Deet is kind of, showing Hup all this warm love and affection, which causes Hup also to show his warm affection. And they work so well together as a team. And it really shows that, with all of Hup's insecurities, all he needs is a little bit of wisdom, all he needs is some kind words. And that's really all anybody needs to kind of, assure themselves that they can be their dreams. They can be the things that they want to be, as long as you have someone there that's reassuring you and giving you this kind support and these kind words to help you keep going. And it's a very important scene for both Deet and Hup because there is so much character development there, and it really shows you who these characters are, and it's amazing. And following my favorite scene is another one of the best scenes in the entire show. I think y'all know what I'm talking about if you're familiar with how the episode plays out. It's a conversation between Rian and the Chamberlain. Now, of course, the Chamberlain has him in the carriage at this point, bringing him back to the Crystal Castle. But what I love so much about this scene is the dialogue between them, because this is where Rian is trying to use whatever wisdom he has gathered to try to convince the Chamberlain that they, the Skeksis, the Lords, are evil. But because Skeksil is such a mastermind manipulator, he ends up convincing Rian that he and the Gelfling are evil, and that he's in this position for a reason. And why this scene is so important is because, you can really see how the Skeksis were able to maintain control all this time. It's because they have been around for so long and so embedded in their own politics for so long that Skeksil in particular has become so brilliant. I mean, the Skeksis may have been evil, but they're very, very intelligent in how they were able to maintain control. And you can see why they're in this position, because they can take any viewpoint that the Gelfling have. They can take that and they can counter it, and they can throw it right back in their face. They say, you say that this is the truth. Well, no, this is actually the truth. And they end up bending minds so much that the Gelfling actually believe them. And that's how they were able to maintain this hierarchy all this time. And even Rian, who knows the truth and is trying to challenge Skeksil in this moment, can't be convinced otherwise. He ends up getting backed into a corner, even though he knows what's actually going on. He ends up getting backed into a corner and has to continue with Skeksil to go to the Crystal Castle because he doesn't want to run again. And it's just, again, it's a testament to the writing of this show, to the construction of this show, how it's executed. Everything is just so unbelievably genius. Oh, and by the way, we also get an awesome escape sequence here as Naya and Gurjin, of course, the brother and sister team, come to rescue Rian. And I think that escape sequence might be, actually I think it is, I don't think it's up for debate. I think it is the best action sequence with puppets ever filmed. Because of course we have some action with puppets and stuff like Star Wars, but it's mostly, CGI. When it comes to Star Wars and stuff like that. Here comes the Henson Company not going for CGI. They're actually going to keep their puppets on screen with a wind machine and treat them like real actors who are actually going through this entire sequence. And if you pay attention to the scene, right, there is no CGI at all except for the arm legs, the wheels and like the background scenery going by and stuff like that. But that's actually the puppets sitting on this giant arm leg wheel doing all of their motions and going through all their actions. Again, it's puppets, but they appear so real, they appear so human, and it's awesome. So I think that actually, it doesn't get enough credit, right? that is the best action scene with puppets ever filmed in history. How it is executed is just so brilliant. And again, it's hard to believe that they're puppets because it's so real. It is such an amazing action sequence, and it really deserves more attention. Now at this point we return to Agra, who is still at the sanctuary tree, of course, and she is attempting to use, I should say, a vast array of mystical tools to try to get in touch and reconnect with the Song of Thra. But nothing seems to be working, and she's realizing in this moment that all of this is her fault. All of this is her responsibility. She was the one who turned her eye away from Thra, and she allowed all of her children to suffer, and she's really accepting responsibility for this. And after we get that heartbreaking scene when the Pluffum comes along and dies of the Darkening, she pleads the sanctuary tree for help, sets him, or I should say the sanctuary tree's roots climb up, grab onto the Pluffum, heal him from the Darkening. And in this moment, she thanks the sanctuary tree for listening to her. And that's when she realizes, wait a minute, that's all I have to do is listen. That's what the sanctuary tree was trying to tell me, and I've always loved that scene because it's just, it really taps into the mythic side of Thra, right? It's not that the sanctuary tree healed the Pluffum just because the tree wanted to. The tree knew that by doing that would cause Agra to think in that manner, would cause her to go, oh, that's what I have to do, listen, right? The tree is kind of, it's literally connected to Earth. It is literally a part of Thra. It's one of the most mystical growths, you could say, on the entire planet, one of the deepest growths on the entire planet. So it is eternal in that way. It is also a living emanation of Thra, and it has a mind of its own, so much so that it can almost predict the future, as it did with Agra in that moment, getting her to realize that all she has to do is listen. And so she starts to listen. So now, at this point in the show, this is where all of the different groups start to gather together before we enter the great dream space sequence. So we have Deet and Hup, of course, comedically entering Harar, dressing in the disguise, gaining their audience before the All-Madra. We see Rian, Naya, Gurjin, and Kylan all together, cooking in the woods, sitting down together and talking. We see Brea, after giving this impassioned speech, short but sweet, about how she values truth above all else. She now takes her mother down to see this secret room to meet Lore, and we also see the culling of the Gelfling beginning in this sequence, as well as the Skeksis have now ordered 7 of the strongest Gelfling from each clan to be gathered, and we see them standing before the general and the ritual master here, of course. And this is all in preparation to enter the dream space sequence. Ah yes, the dream space sequence. Another one of the greatest moments in the entire show, in the entirety of the show. And I love this sequence so much because of how magical it is. You know, first Agra is doing her dance, and she's reconnecting with Thra, and she's singing. And through this singing, while she's singing, everybody starts dream fasting in their separate locations at the same moment. And through this mystical action, she draws them all from different locations, boom, into the dream space, and they all meet up with each other. And it's so great because not only is she bringing in all of the necessary people that she needs to spark this resistance, but this is also the moment where Agra reconnects with Thra. As she's dancing around, she's happy and she's joyous, right? She's dancing around, but it's for a reason. It's because now she sees. Now she can see all, as she says, all the paths laid out before her again. She's finally reconnected with Thra. She's finally reconnected with the energies of the planet, and now she knows what to do. Now she can act as a seer, almost, right now. Now she can see all the paths laid out before her, and she knows exactly what to do. And it's so great because, you know, she only brings in, it's like Thra knew. Thra made them, the energies of the planet made them all dream fast at that moment that Agra was doing her little dance, because those are all of the necessary people that she needs to gather together to start the fires of resistance. And everyone is on board with this, well, almost everyone, except for Celadon, of course, who says that she won't give in to chaos. And thankfully, Mother Agra sees that she's going to be a problem from the very start, and boom, sends her out of the dream space, back into reality. Good, get out of here, Celadon. Celadon sounds like a dinosaur name anyway. And it is in this moment where everybody now finally learns the truth, right? Now Rian doesn't have to go around begging people and pleading people to dream fast with him. Agra shows everybody the truth. She displays everything. She shows everybody the visions. And I've always loved that sequence too, because there's just so much going on. I mean, the music is so loud and powerful and visceral and in your face, and Skek cackling, with the camera zooming into his open mouth, and all of these disturbing scenes going on, right? And now everybody finally understands that each one of them has been called individually to fight for Agra. They're all there for a specific reason. Thrawn needed these warriors, nobody else. These are all the warriors that they needed. And it's just another one of those beautiful, powerful, emotional scenes in the show that really kind of brings a tear to your eye because of how well it is executed, how well it's directed, the scenery that's going on, the emotions that are being conveyed here. It's just so wonderful. It's another one of those scenes that just leaves you breathless. After you watch it, you're like, wow, I just experienced something. Even though it was just a quick sequence, you feel like you just got punched in the gut or something, and you have to sit there and gather yourself. And it's just part of what makes the show so great. There's so many moments like that. So now, after being asked to light the fires of resistance and all agreeing to do just that, they all go their separate ways. And the All-Madre is so passionate about this that she goes to confront the Skeksis directly. And as we all know, this is not a smart idea, because no matter what truth you know, you should never confront your lords, especially the Skeksis, directly and so plainly like that, so frankly, I guess you could say. But she does just that. She walks into the throne room and she gives this very impassioned speech, her famous "No More" speech, which is a very important speech because it's finally, after all of the evil that the All-Madre has done by just blindly serving the Skeksis and turning away from her own people, now she realizes the pain that she herself has caused, and that's why she's standing there. That's why her speech is so impassioned, is because she's not just angry at the Skeksis, she's angry at herself for failing herself and for failing her people. So she sits there and she tells them, no more. This is the end. No more anything. You have taken advantage of us for too long. This is the moment where we all stand up against you. No more. Love that speech. But, as we all know, it doesn't end very well for her, because as powerful as that speech was, you just can't speak to the Skeksis like that, especially not the general, and she pays the ultimate price. She gets sliced in half. And not only is this a very dramatic scene and a very sad scene also, but it's also an important scene, because this is where things begin to change in the hierarchy of Harar, the order of the princesses, because Celadon views this as Brea's fault. So not only does she not view Brea as her sister anymore, but as we come to find out soon, she doesn't even view her mother as her mother anymore. It completely changes things. And now with Celadon being the All-Madre, this very, very troubled mindset that she has is about to lead her down a very, very dark path, fittingly. But that, my friends, is for another world and another time. Actually, it's for next Friday. Alright, my friends, well, that's enough blathering from yours truly for right now. Now comes the best part of the video, of course, where I turn it over to all of you. Now comes the time for you guys to voice all of your thoughts and opinions about Episode 5 down below in the Great White Void. Who are your favorite characters? What are your favorite moments? What are your favorite scenes? And why? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions down below in that Great White Void. And I'll see you guys back here for the next video next Friday as we do review Episode 6. Until then, take care, guys. As always, until next we meet, for Thra, for Jim, I love you.